huge rumor at the moment, right? In the 170-pound division, we've got Shavkat Ragmanov, which I've definitely butchered his name unbelievably, potentially fighting Colby Covington. I really, really like this fight. It feels to me a bit of a potentially, if Shavkat wins, a passing of the torch from Colby onto the new generation of fighters.
Isn't it crazy how Colby went from like massive title contender to gatekeeper to washed up in like what feels like a fraction of a moment
in one fight? Oh my gosh, yeah.
Here's my hot take on this, Jack. I believe that it doesn't matter which version of Colby Covington shows up, because I think even Colby Covington in his prime has got no chance of dealing with the absolute relentless pressure and unbelievable fight IQ of Shavkat Ragmanov. That guy's just a beast, He's a beast.
What he did to Wonderboy Thompson was very impressive. But the thing, I feel like it's just because Colby let us down so much. I don't think there was a single person on the planet, whether they follow MMA or not, that wasn't disappointed with Colby last fight. Not only because of the trash talk, he crossed the line, but his performance, it felt like he didn't pull the trigger. And people don't mind what you say as long as you actually leave it out on the octagon.
Yep.
But we left that fight feeling, bro, like, what went on? To be fair, he's fighting Leon Edwards, right? It's not like he's fighting like some local chump in his hometown. He's fighting like one of the best, so we can give him a break. But I feel like I want to give Colby Covington the benefit of the doubt here. I want to say that when he does come out to fight again, if he can bring that Colby Covington magic of old that we saw against Masvidal, that we saw against Kamaru Usman, I think it's an interesting fight. I think Colby could potentially win that.
I think it's an incredibly difficult task for Colby, even in the current state. And in terms of giving him a break, like, everybody's allowed a bad night, bro. Like, absolutely. You know, I'm saying here from my armchair, but it's for a title shot. If you're not going to show up to a title shot, one that arguably people didn't think that you deserved, if you're not going to show up on that day, you know, when are you going to show up? And again, Shavkat, the thing that really impresses me is he wears you down, he gets you tired, and he finishes fights, man. He finishes fights.
He's dependable. You can depend on him to show up and deliver.
Absolutely. And so I can't help. I would love to see what the betting odds or what the line would be for this fight, because I can't help but think that Colby will be anything other than a huge underdog in that particular fight.
Well, if you're Colby Covington, do you accept the fight against Shavkat? I feel like you have to accept the fight because it's your only pathway back to relevancy. You need to take out one of the hungriest up-and-coming lines of a division to cement your place. If Colby comes out and says something like, look, what happened in the fight, I'm disgusted with. I don't think I showed my best performance. I had injury X. I'd even play the injury card, to be honest. I feel if he had an injury, I would be tempted to come out and just admit it and say, but I'm not going to let my words talk. I'm going to let my actions talk. I'm going to take the hungriest line in the division and show that I belong. That's a storyline. All of a sudden,
Absolutely.
You're like, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I think that's his only pathway. And look, I'm going to say it. It looked last time like he turned up just for the paycheck. You know what I mean? And I can say this like wholeheartedly. You get to do that once.
Only once. Like the Dylan Dennis, Logan Paul thing. Like Dylan, the amount of I didn't follow it too closely, but the amount of trash talk is like, bro, like you only get to scam us once, right? We're not buying it a second time.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing Colby Covington pull guard for cash here, are we?
Oh no, I hope not. But I feel like you can play the heavy, aggressive trash talk. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But if you don't deliver the performance, he now needs to revise his playbook. His playbook needs to be, look, I would then bring out
or retire, man.
Yeah, people want to see the authentic Colby Covington. Like, there was a moment in the Embedded series where he like was really nice to a waiter. And I was like, I really like that version of Kobe. And I get he brought the persona out to stay in the UFC. He's done it very well. He now needs to come back to his roots. He needs to be authentic, and he needs to come out and say, look, what happened? I don't think that was my best performance, and I'm going to show that. Like, people don't come out enough and say it as it is, but I've got high hopes from going forward, I think.
So everybody that I've spoken to behind the scenes, actually, you know, say that Colby's actually quite a nice guy. You know,
I think he probably is a nice guy. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are very vocal to say that actually, you know, that guy's not a nice guy at all. But I've seen the other side from multiple different people. So, you know, I think everybody likes a redemption arc. Everybody likes a phoenix from the flames. You know, I mean, I think that would be great. But let's look at the reality that is top level fighting. And the reality of top level fighting is once you're past your peak, it's very, very.
It's not getting easier. Well, dude. Well, speaking of the 170-pound division, you've been hearing some rumors about potential switch-ups. Because we talk about UFC 300, man, and it's like, what is happening with UFC 300 and potential weight classes, Liv?
I'm not going to release a source, and I will also say that this is wild speculation.
Okay, that's
wild
the kind of speculation I like.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes for a good conversation, absolutely. But I am hearing that there is a potential that they are going to do away with 170 pounds and they're going to replace that. So it goes lightweight, and then it's going to go a 165 pound division, and then a 175 pound division, and then back to middleweight. So you can imagine, instead of there being a 15 pound jump between lightweight and welterweight, and then welterweight and middleweight, you're going to see a 10 pound jump like you would see with the lower weight classes all the way up until 205. And if they do that, then they're also thinking about having McGregor and Chandler compete for a new belt in a new division to crown that division off. And if you're talking about the UFC PR marketing machine, then that is unbelievably genius. I just wish I could remember who it was that told me this, because it's a storyline.
You're protecting your sources. I respect that. So we'd have 45, 55, 65, 75, 85. Because look at it's a 10 pound jump at every weight class, except 55 to 70, and that's a big 15 pounds.
Yep.
But then it's also 85 to 205, gigantic.
Yeah.
Are we saying there'll also potentially be a 95 pound division? Or do we want to see, let's do the 65, see how that goes, and if it's a successor, we'll bring in the 195.
So, the rumor that I've heard kind of finished at that point. But if we're going to speculate, I actually think that that's something to address in the future. If I'm looking through the eyes of the UFC, and this is a change that you want to make, it makes perfect sense. New belt, new stars, fresh blood. Some people who would maybe be suitable for one division or kind of stuck in the middle, maybe a bit undersized, they get a good chance. But most of the adult population fits in that sort of 145 to 165 type. You know, actually, your 77 kilo guys, when you see them, like Leon walking around, he walks at like 90 kilos. So for our American fans, that is was 93 is 205. So it's 202, I think. So Leon walks at 202 pounds. Do you know what I mean? To fight at 170, like. We're talking about guys here who understand the science of weight cutting, and they've got it down to a T. So, in my opinion, if every gram counts, then having an extra weight class is a no-brainer. But logistically, you've got somebody like Leon Edwards, who's current champion. Does he become 175 champion? Does he become 165 champion? Does he become both? Like, what is going to happen there, Jay?
That's a really good question, actually, because I feel UFC makes sense. More divisions, more weight classes, higher PPV sales. It also, I think, creates more talent, because you then have two top 15s when previously, like if you want to fight 155, you know, and you split that to 155, 165, you know, all of a sudden the 20th ranked guy can now enter the ranking divisions. You go from having an incredibly stacked division of lightweight to, it's still very stacked, but now you can pick these two different divisions. What happens to Leon Edwards if they split the weight classes and we have a 175 and a 165? Well, in my mind, I'd say, Leon, what do you want the belt for? Do you want the 165 or the 175? Okay. I'd say, what do you want?
Yeah.
Which one do you want? He's probably going to say 175. It's a great call. And then we'll just say, look, what happens at the beginning of the fight is the moment the fight starts, you relinquish your title, and then you either regain or you don't regain it. Mm-hmm. So that's what would usually happen. He'd be the champ up until the bell rings, then the 175 pound division disappears, and then he's fighting for the new belt. That's the only way to really, I think, realistically do that fight.
You want my hot take on this?
I'd love to know your hot take on that, yeah.
I think that there's this idea of like double champ and triple champ. We even talked about it last week. We said, who's going to be the first person to be the UFC triple champ? And I said, I think it's going to be Khamzat.
Yeah.
And in a situation where you have weight classes that are a little bit more close together, you know, you don't have somebody jumping up 15 pounds, 6.8 kilos. Do you know what I mean? Or you don't have somebody dropping down, and you know, we saw TJ Dillashaw go down 125. Do you know what I mean? He looked like a shell of himself, man. So, you know, you get these guys who are going to be a little bit closer to their weight class, and then when you get this standout superstar, they have the ability to float into these different weight classes, make history, and the UFC is about building stars. And who is going to be a bigger star than the first person who becomes triple champ? Whether they're great on the mic or not, that guy...
Are we talking simultaneous triple champ, or just I've had a belt in each three divisions?
I mean, either or, man. Do you know what I mean? I mean, simultaneous would be unreal.
Outrageous.
Unreal.
That'd be exciting. Yeah.
Immediately go conversation, right?
Go. Well, actually, one of the things I think that the UFC should do, or could do, in addition to breaking down divisions, is have prestige ranks with belts. So we talk about grabbing the belt. We don't ever talk about your kill streak on the belt. We say, oh, he had the belt for a while, or he had a belt for a while. I want to have, like, you get one defense, you get, like, I don't know, a bronze, then silver, then you will get to ruby, onyx, obsidian.
Like 5 defenses, you
oh
unlock a
my
knife,
gosh.
you know?
Yeah, it's like, I have a, I was an obsidian, but I had 10 defenses. Like, whoa. And all of a sudden, and what if you mandated, like, you can be double champ if you want to, but you need 3 defenses. In reality, the UFC is not going to self-impose restrictions on its double champs because they're in the business of selling money. Yeah. But I want some, like, levels to this game. A little bit like, can we just, like, get some prestige ranks in these belts?
I mean, it's already the most difficult thing in mixed martial arts to get a belt in the UFC. I mean, it is the top.
It's
the
the
top
pinnacle.
of the
It's
top.
the pinnacle.
You know what I mean? In fact, I mean, like, would you rather have an Olympic gold medal or a UFC title at this point?
Well, the UFC title's rarer than the Olympic gold medal, right? So, the belt.
100%, man, and that's saying something in itself, right?